Hi, this is Aaron at ThinkBotLabs.com and welcome back to the third tutorial in the series. In this tutorial we'll be working on replacing our bowling pins, pumpkin textures, and adding a spider web to catch our pumpkin. Let's go back into our project. Alright, so for our bowling lane I've already deleted our pumpkin and our bowling pins that we had set up. I found on the asset store a perfect prop for this. It's called Breakable Pumpkin. Go ahead and get it downloaded and go into that folder and into the prefabs. And the one that I'm using is called Breakable Pumpkin Halloween. Go ahead and drag it out into the scene. Let's move it a little closer to the camera. Let's rotate it towards us. Alright. So these breakable pumpkins, they come with a breakable object script. It comes with the fractured object prefab, a particle system, a option to break the pumpkin on click, its durability, and a few other options. Play the scene and let's check it out. Okay, go ahead and click it. Has a nice little explosion to it. So I already created some prefabs earlier. Based on these pumpkins. Let's go ahead and drag it up. I'm going to have mine facing down the lane. Scoot it back just a little bit. Raise it up. I'll need it in the floor. And on ours, disable the click to break object. We want the pumpkin to be able to roll down the lane. We don't want it to explode as soon as we click on it. Also, the object durability, set it at 50. We don't want it to break until it's all the way down the lane and has busted up through the pins. Speaking of pins, I did find some other props for our pins that look better. Typical pin. On its shader, I set the shader to particle alpha blend. They gave it a little ghostly appeal, which I thought would fit right into our Halloween scene. Let's go ahead and drag the pumpkin and the pin into our bowling lane game object. And let's set our pins up, so we'll have 10 of them. Let's bring this back and Control D to duplicate it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's move the pumpkin out of this bunch. Let's rename all these to pin. It's arbitrary really, but okay, let's create a new game object to house all of our pins. Create empty, just call it pins, and then drag all the pins into that game object. Doing this just because we can move all of them at the same time. And we can also size them all at the same time. So let's bring them up a little bit. And it looks like they're in the floor, so let's bring them up. Perfect. Let's go ahead and play that and see how it looks. Okay, can move the pumpkin around. And let's roll it. And it smashes through. And it updated our score for us. Perfect. On our score, go back to your game UI and our score. I moved our score script up to the game UI. I did this because we can have multiple scripts on the main game UI canvas, and we don't have to depend on one text to hold that. Doesn't really matter, but I like them off of the text and on one main area. Alright, let's add a functionality for a strike. So on the game UI, text. This text is going to be, actually, let's not do that. Let's delete this. Let's duplicate this. The score has all the shadows in the text, just the way we like it. So let's go back to 2D, focus on that, zoom out a little bit, and let's rename the score to alert. Let's drag this over in the center. We'll delete the text out of it, and this is a spot where we can tell the player if they've made a strike or not. Let's go just a little bit. Okay, let's go back to our score script. And in the top, let's add another text. Public text status. Now we'll say void check if strike. We'll say if the score is equal to 10, then the status.text equals, in all caps, strike. Update. We need to update this text as well. So we just need to run our check if we have a strike. Let's go ahead and save that off. Let's go back to our pins and look at the trigger. Grab game UI and put that on the triggers. And we'll switch back to 3D. Alright, let's see if we can get a strike. So our score is 0. We have no alert text in the middle. We have an 11. In our game UI, we need to attach the alert to the status. Let's play it and have a look. Score 0, no alert status, and let's see if we can get a strike. Nope. Let's play it again. It's kind of the fun of it, because the strike. There we go. Perfect. Alright. Let's add a spider web at the end of our bowling lane. And I'm doing this for two reasons. One, so the ball doesn't continue to roll down the hallway. And two, it'll give us a little effect for the pumpkin exploding. So let's go to the bowling lane, create a 3D object, cube, let's drag it to the very end of the lane, about right there. Give it a little room to come off the court. Down a little bit, and let's resize it into flat object. Quite large. A bit larger. That should be good. Let's make it a little thinner. Perfect. Now I found a spiderweb PNG web that we'll be using. So I'll grab that and drag it on here. Perfect. In the game it looks pretty good. It looks like it needs moved over just a little bit to the right. So let's go to the cube. Let's drag it over. Good. Let's go ahead and rename this to web. Now remember, on our pumpkins we do have the option to explode the object when we click it. Let's go to our scripts, which is the breakable object. Let's open that up. So on the breakable object, the trigger is right here for the trigger break. It destroys the collider, the rigid body. This happens via on-collision enter. If the collision.relative velocity.magnitude is greater than durability, which is 5 by default, it'll trigger the break. We set our durability very high so the pumpkin doesn't explode as soon as we roll it down the lane and it hits the pins. What we want to do is we want the pumpkin to explode when it hits the spider web. So let's create a new script called call break object. Create C# script call break object. Okay, let's go ahead and open that up. Alright, we only need a few lines of code in here. And first we need to call the break object script. So public break object VO, and then we'll use the on trigger enter of the collider that's on the web to trigger the break. So public void on trigger enter collider other, and then since the object's going to get destroyed, let's wrap this in a try catch statement so we don't have warnings spewing out because it can't find the object. So try catch. We'll leave the catch empty. We don't really need to say anything. We could debug out, says, hey, we've lost something, but let's call bo dot trigger break. And again, the trigger break is in the breakable objects trigger break. Let's go ahead and save this off. Go back to our scene, let it compile. Go to the web, and let's attach the call break object. Alright, so now it is looking for the breakable object, which is our pumpkin. Grab the pumpkin and drag it in there. Just for clarity, let's go back and rename this to pumpkin, because that's what our breakable object is. Copy that, paste it in there, save that off. Let that compile. Now it says pumpkin, and we're looking for the breakable object. Grab that pumpkin and place it in there. Alright, now let's play our scene. Okay, we move left or right. And it explodes. And we got a strike. Good job. Let's also attach a follow script to the main camera to watch the pumpkin go all the way down the lane. So on the camera, add component, follow target, and the target is going to be our pumpkin. So the follow target script is available to download from import packages, characters. Scroll down and almost to the very bottom, follow target. Go ahead and grab it and download it. And then we'll go to our camera and make sure it is attached. And the target is the pumpkin. So on the camera, one thing that we need to do is make sure that the offset is set up correctly. What I mean by that is that the follow target is going to adjust the camera based on the position of the pumpkin. So go ahead and play that. I'm going to see that we're way high up. So let's change our offset. Looks pretty good height. Let's move it back a little bit. Right there. So if I unpause this right now, or if I unplay this right now, these are going to be reset. So go to the cogwheel, copy component, stop it, and go to the component, and then paste component values. Now when we play it, our camera is following us in the right position. Great. Strike. Alright, let's add a few more pumpkins to these carts, just for some appeal. Some breakable pumpkin objects, prefabs. Actually, let's go into my prefabs and just grab my pumpkins and set them up there. Let's turn this around. Let's raise him up a little bit. Let's see, looks like he's a little off kilter. Okay, let's rotate him. Let's duplicate him, move him over. Set them side by side. And we'll put two more on the other side. Come up. Rotate it around. Straighten him up. Duplicate him and move him over. Let's play that, make sure nothing falls. Nice. We should be able to click on them. So for our pumpkins, let's remove the ones that we have setting on the benches. Remove the roll ball script and check break object. Pumpkin, move component, check break object. Let's play the same. We'll have to play with those so they're not bouncing around when the scene starts, but should be able to click them and explode. Nice. Alright, great. Alright, let's go ahead and stop the tutorial there. Remember, in the description I'll provide links to our pumpkins, the bowling pins, and some other information. In our next tutorial we'll work on spawning our pumpkins and our pins, because we'll need those in between bowling frames. in bowling there's 10 frames, so we'll need another method to keep track of the total score for all 10 frames.